All right, the EP-133 is here. It's awesome, but it has some weird quirks that won't let it fulfill my original idea I had for it, which was to play live sets with just this machine, as well as use it as my main sampler and sequencer when making music in the studio. I thought it'd be able to do all that for me easily, but it's kind of weird at times. Now, these things that I found are not real deal breakers, right? Don't have to be too dramatic, but they're just a little funky. So I can only hope that these will change in the future with updates. But yeah, anyway, let's get into it. So the big one right off the bat is the same reason I don't use my MPC-60 as much, and that's that there is no filters per sound. And this is weird because the P-033 has this. It's in the tone editing section. So here, check this out. I'll play this track. And on B, which you have 4 groups, right? B section right now is just my keys. But if I solo everything else, or lower the volume of everything else, and we just focus in on B, I can assign my filter to be the low pass filter. And hold on, the low pass filter is also really weird. Look at this. From here, I hear the tiniest amount of difference. And then from here to here, it's a very low. And maybe it's just this, but the same thing could be said for the bass, which we'll check in a second. But look, I just have a filter for this entire section. Now, this is fine if you do what I'm doing here, where A is my drums, B is my keys, and then C is my bass, right? Pretty chill. But I originally thought all these things would be able to be applied to the sound, because if we're listening to just my drums and we turn these down, my drums here, I would have liked to be able to kind of do like a high pass on the kick, or like a low pass on some of the kicks. I meant like a high pass on my snare, right, to get rid of some of the mud, or a low pass on some of the kicks to make them a little more thumpy and not as boomy or poppy, I guess, like up in the upper ranges. So no filters per sounds, kind of a bummer. When it comes to the samples itself, it's not that bad because, for example, if we just listen to bass line, this is where I think the filter, I don't know, I think this throw is a little weird. So this is at fully open. It's like no change almost. There we go. You know, and I was like, all right. I was trying to get it kind of clean, a little bit of a pop, and then I realized, oh yeah, there's no resonance control over the filter as well. And then there's no envelope, like initial trigger for the filter either. So it's just kind of a filter. That is not available on the P-033, but you know what, let me just grab the P-033. All right, so check out this sound, right? If I go into my sound editing, there's a filter option there. And I have low pass, high pass, and the resonance. And then I can just automate this whenever I need it. And I can do some pretty cool stuff with it, but you don't have anything like that on the KO outside of the fader. And yes, you can use the fader to record automation, and it's a bit smoother than the stepped version on the KO1, not the KO2. I don't know what to call these things anymore. Don't even ask me how to pronounce that thing. There's a couple little things that I'm like, oh, weird. I was kind of expecting the KO2 to have what the KO1 had, at least. But in this case, it kind of doesn't. Now, another weird quirk about the EP-133 is that it doesn't change scenes or patterns or projects at the end of a bar. It's instant. And with projects, it's really weird because it's a press and hold, which is a little hard to time, right? So check this out. And there's a weird hack that I figured it out, but watch this. So we're here on this project, right? And say I wanted to jump to another project, I have to press and hold, and then it jumps over. And if I wanted to time this into something else, let's say, da, 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 da. Then I want to change at the end. I think maybe now. Nope, that was too early. And now we're here at this one. And then if I want to jump to another one, right? that one kind of worked. It wasn't too bad. Dude, this track is too tight. Super inspired by Henry Wu on this one. Same chords as one of his tracks, different drums, different bass. But check this out. So let's go ahead and commit this to another pattern, right? And we'll go to our drums and say for this section, we want to take the kick drum out, which is fine. And then we'll take the open hat out as well, just so we can make it really visible as to what's happening. And I'll go ahead and record in some. Okay, now if I hold this down and I go to pattern 3, again, it's instant. But the weird hack that I figured out is if I hold this down and press 0 and then get ready to change to a part. You know, it's a bit wonky, it could be doable. Oh, see there, it didn't work. And then right here at the end of the bar. And then let's see if I can get back into 3. Oh, right, you have to repress this. I mean, this is cool. I'll do this at a show. But there's no changing at the end of the bar. And on top of that, this technique doesn't work for changing projects because those are press and hold. So this then gets us to another weird quirk. I swallowed that last one and I said, you know what? I'll use 99 scenes and one giant live set inside of one single project, right? I'll go Dave Smith style, rest in peace, and use 10s as my song, and then the 1s as my song sections, right? So S11 would be song 1 intro, S12 would be song 1 verse, S44 would be song 4 breakdown, you get it. But the weirdest thing is you cannot jump to a scene unless there are scenes that are before it. So for me to jump to scene 10, I need scenes 1 through 9 activated with something, even a single hit. I cannot just jump to any scene and start fresh. It has to have an inception point. So here's an example. Say I wanted to jump to scene 20. It won't let me. It's basically saying, hey, you have nothing past scene 4. Weird. So I can't even get to scene 10. The only way to get there is I have to either commit, 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 commit. Come on. Commit. Now I'm at scene 10. Now I can build my next track. And I thought that doing the songs this way would be easy, but it's a very slow, painful process to have to do that, as you can see there. I wish I could just say, let me go to scene 80 and start fresh with nothing in it, because now all of these scenes have the same stuff going on in them. And sure, we can argue, all right, well then make some cool, interesting things. But what if my song doesn't have 10 parts? I don't want to have to keep dealing with having to make all these scenes. But once that is there, now I can easily say, all right, from scene 3, or where's that scene I had with nothing on it? Sure, scene 2. Now I can jump to scene 10. Boom, easy. But it's just a matter of creating those scenes first to then allow you to even get there, because you can't go somewhere that hasn't been created yet. And last performance weirdness is the fader. Mine works, by the way. So the fader by default, depending on what scene you are on, will control whatever it's assigned to. And every scene, whatever group you are on will control whatever it's assigned to. And you can hold down multiple groups, but then this turns this fader into just a volume control. I originally thought that I can say, all right, for group B, let's go to the effects, group C, go to the effects, group A, let's go to the pitch. And now when I hold those 3 down, I move this around, it'll do some cool stuff, but I was mistaken because I found this out kind of the hard way when trying to do like a build-up thing into reverb or delay. So let's say we have the reverb here, right? And I say, all right, scene A, go to effects, B, group, you know what I mean. B, C, go there. Start pushing this here. Start pushing everything to the effects. Cool little build-up, and then I went like this and pulled the fader down, and then everything just turned off, and I was like, what the hell, you know? Turn that back on. No. Where's my drums? Oh, right, I have to not press that. Do this, do this, do this, press those, turn that back up. A little cumbersome. It's a workflow thing that I am just not used to yet. It's gonna be fine. No one's dying. It's just something we got to get used to. Something I thought that I would be able to do on here with this thing, but I guess not. Now, lastly, here are two more. You can't sample while the sequencer is running, which sucks because sometimes I'm trying to lay down some bars on my house track, but trying to keep tempo in my head has like a 5% success rate. And lastly, kind of ties into that whole fader thing and the effects thing, is that there are no effect sends for each individual sound to the effect. It's per group, kind of like with the whole filter thing. Like I said at the beginning, these aren't deal breakers, but they are inconveniences that I was hoping to not have to deal with. Like they say, expectations are the thief of joy, but it's still sick. And as you can see, I already got a scratch on my screen. Don't even know how. Careful, don't put anything near your screen. But yeah, it's pretty dope. Until next week, my friend, I really appreciate you coming by. Thanks for hearing me out. And until then, you already know the drill. Share the love, share the knowledge. Knowledge is power. Peace. All right, let's do something.